I believe that when you work with an institution, it amplifies your efforts. And I've had great colleagues here at Dort. It's been really a wonderful career. And that kind of synergistic community to work in is something that, yeah, I'll miss that. I'll be looking forward to the freedom of, fewer deadlines and things like that to work with, and more time with family. That'll be great. But I will definitely miss my colleagues here at Dort.
If you ever wanted to get technical advice on anything from anyone, you go to Professor DeBoer in our department. There is probably no one that has such a breadth of engineering knowledge as him, and we have always appreciated that.
Something that I've always appreciated about Doug, particularly while I've been serving as a faculty member with him, is just his knowledge of the department and his history with the department. And he's spent so much time here, and him being able to go back and say, well, I remember that this was the discussion when we were making this decision in 1993 or something like that, and that's why we did this, and that's probably something that the rest of us would have never even known or totally forgotten, but that history that he's had with the department, that's not something that we'll be able to replace once he goes, so it's always been much appreciated and will certainly be sorely missed.
The thing that comes to mind first is just how much he knows. He knows a lot about electrical engineering, but really all things technical. I joke about with him sometimes that he knows more than I do as a mechanical.
I've appreciated his intentionality. So along with him being probably the smartest person that I've ever met, the fact that he is intentional enough he always is willing to take the time to make sure his students understand topics and material from every angle, more than just demonstrating his own knowledge, has really just been a blessing for everybody who gets to be taught by him.
He's always willing to take the time to answer any question, no matter what the question is, whether he's answered it 100 times already for a bunch of different students or again for yourself. He always takes the time to answer it again and answer it thoroughly.
I think the thing that I appreciated most about Dr. DeBoer was just his enthusiasm for the subject, and then the relevance for which all his teaching had for the rest of life.
The thing that I appreciate the most about Professor DeBoer is his commitment to his students and his desire for them to succeed. I've had a lot of really good professors at Dort, but I think what's unique about Professor DeBoer is he not only encourages out-of-class sort of collaboration, but he really almost encourages it more than most professors. We'll have a lot of electronics classes where Professor DeBoer will tell us that he wants us to call him more on the homework and he wants to coach us more. And I think that's really evidence of how committed he is to seeing his students succeed.
Or he's really eager to help us students, taking a lot of extra time, even beyond time in class or time in labs, to answer as many questions as we have and just make sure we really understand the homework.
Me and my friend, a week before the test, couldn't figure out any of the material almost. And so we came to him 2 days before the test, and I basically just invited myself over to his house. I said, Professor, we're struggling. Would it be all right tonight or sometime tomorrow that you're free for Matt and I to come over and go through a list of questions that we put together? He said yes, that would work. And so we showed up that evening, and his wife had prepared these delicious bars for us, and we studied around his kitchen table until 9 or 10 p.m. talking about electrical engineering things. And that just blew me away. And it's memories like that remind me that Dort is not a normal place. And I'm so blessed to be able to go to a place like this. And it's special because of people like Professor DeBoer.
I'm an electrical engineer, so I really enjoy seeing the light come on in their eyes when they get ideas. And it's really a fun reaction to watch when the students catch on to something. That's one thing. There's just been a lot of fun projects that I've been able to work on here.
I think one of the things that stands out the most to me about Professor DeBoer is how good of a job he does integrating his faith into the lessons that he teaches us. I think a lot of the classes that we've had, people would struggle to understand how you'd integrate your faith into electronics or communication systems or microcontroller interfacing. But I think what Professor DeBoer has done really well is he's sort of taught us how to search for purpose in what we do and how to work towards sort of a holistic sense of engineering, where we're doing stuff that really is sort of advancing the kingdom of God.
Doug is always so firm in his convictions, and I think that's really valuable for the engineering department, and I think we will miss that.
Professor DeBoer is always systematic and thoughtful and well argued in his understanding of how faith and coursework go together. And I've always appreciated that in the department. Doesn't mean we agree on everything, but when he either agrees or disagrees, it comes with a really good justification and basis for it. He's built his case, and it gives us a space for dialogue.
What we feel like is good and worthwhile comes from our religious worldviews. And when you're working in a secular institution, you have to respect all worldviews, and that really means you can't be free to express everything that you're thinking. So here at Dort, I've found a freedom that you cannot find in many other secular institutions. When you can teach about how God's creation leads toward these scientific and engineering concepts, it's just thrilling.
Professor DeBoer always has a way of encouraging students to really push themselves. Through his own story, he's got an incredible testimony, an incredible story. And I think through that story, we can see, yeah, keep pushing for these learning opportunities, keep engaging in life, because you never know what doors open up because of that. And you never know how God's going to use you.
Something that I think I appreciate about him as a professor was his higher expectations, is what I would say. He knew the level that you could attain to, and he helped you push for that and attain to that.
Doug happens to often be the sound engineer at our church services at our church, and he's got the headphones on, and he's always working on the microphones just to make sure it's just so. He is a tinkerer. I know he's taken back old electronics to his home and worked on them, or up in our labs, and he's taught students that over the years too. And I think there's an interesting stewardship aspect of that. Our culture with technology tends to be a throwaway culture, and Doug doesn't see it that way. There's a stewardship side to engineering and sometimes fixing old things that we can learn from, and that's been unique for Doug.
He had one time when he was introducing a new subject, and he had his slideshow timed to, I think it's the Superman theme song. So it's like stuff comes in with the music, and it was just a lot of fun and really epic entrance to one of our chapters.
I'd say the lab sections are a lot of fun, and there are some times where Professor DeBoer will have a bit of fun and say some funny things or just mess around a little bit more in that than he does in class sometimes, which is a lot of fun to see.
My favorite class with him was probably embedded systems. I think talents and stuff that I learned from the lab with him and directly imitating how Professor DeBoer troubleshoots in lab at my internships is what impressed my employer enough to hire me.
When Professor DeBoer gets to the end of answering like a long question or something like that, and perhaps students are a little bit confused by a concept, he sort of takes a step back and says, guys, there is so much to learn in this world. I definitely don't know it all, and I want to just encourage you to continue to dive into all this.
Yeah, there's always a ton of interesting challenges, and it's just going to keep on going. We were born for times like this. Let's have fun with it.